Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. Here we are, your most favorite host and co-host, Mo and Bo.
Hello.
Discussing today's subject is happiness. And as you know, we all want to have a good life and we want, to have an even better life, as the time goes on. But the question is, how can we be happier? So, and one principle that I have been using, as you know, I say that one bad exceeds 9 or 10 good. Right. So in order to become happy, first you want to make sure that you're not, to address the thing that makes you unhappy. So the question for you is, Bo, what makes you unhappy?
Well, I got a couple things that I know right off the bat, and we'll go into it, is when I get into ruts of eating bad food, because you're working and you're moving and you're always busy, and you just stop in and you grab something that's not necessarily good for you, and you end up feeling that in the long term. I think that just generally brings me down. As soon as I recognize it and I keep on doing it, and that definitely brings me a level of unhappiness. Yeah.
Of course, we want to pick our words right again.
Yes.
It makes you disappointed.
Yes, disappointed.
Yeah. But of course, when you disappoint yourself a few times, then it just affects your level of happiness.
Right. And that was the next one, disappointment in my own self. That does a lot, like when you're working and you screw something up, or you do something that makes somebody else even disappointed in you. That makes me unhappy.
And this is so. What do you do about it? You are aware of it, which is good. But what do you do about it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you try and do better.
How do you do that?
I guess you try and isolate what it is that you did, and then whether or not you could even have changed it, even if you wanted to, and then make that correction. If you can, say, like, if you screw something up at work, like sometimes I get tunnel vision, and it's just my way or the highway, and this is how it's going to be, and I don't even think about something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out that you were wrong, right? You have to try and, I don't even know how you really fix it, but you just have to be aware that sometimes that happens to you. So when someone says, maybe you shouldn't do that, maybe you should listen. Or maybe I should listen. Sorry.
Of course, something that I said, because personally, as you know, I have my own business. At that one point, I got too busy, so I booked clients through my lunchtime. My food is very important to me. I get hungry very easily.
Yeah,
I should really have food, in arm reach. I mean it. Otherwise I panic. And but one day that happened, and really it became really kind of not a good scenario, because myself, I was not happy with that. I was disappointed because I couldn't eat properly, and I was just going back and forth, eating a little bit, which I did not enjoy my food. That was one. Two, my clients, I didn't pay attention to them as much, and that affected a bit of caused a bit of a disappointment in them. So then that day, I really thought about that. I had said this, in a few episodes before that. I said, my dad told me, what makes you feel, when you go to bed, think about what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad, and why, which I added that to it personally. And because I have that habit, especially if I feel bad one day, I normally do that what made me feel bad? What can I do about it? Was it me? Was it the situation? Was it the other party? And often it is me. And if you change the way that you do things or think differently, it will affect the way that you feel. And I realized that was the concern. So I never ever miss my lunch, So, and I make sure that I, for example, have enough time. And for myself, eating clean and healthy is very important. I make sure that I don't get too tired. That when I get home, I have enough time to prepare good food. So I really make sure of that to happen. But it is very good to know what causes it and then how you're going to address it. Another thing, there are studies that they show that if you're happy, you will do a better job. by doing a better job can affect you to become happier, but really you need to be happy. So sometimes when you think that, okay, I'm going to skip lunch because I want to keep my customer happy or something, it's a double-edged sword thing. I'm not sure if it's going to work. So just is something to keep in mind. Another thing, for example, I had asked one of my colleagues that, what makes her angry. Then she said, bad drivers. I said, so how many of them do we have out there?
that can be anyone.
and she said a lot. I said, so you're the only good driver, though.
Yeah.
So basically what happens, yes, we do run into cases, but depending on what you're focusing on, yes, there are some, people that they drive bad or by mistake, or they're just generally bad drivers. But one of the quick ways to decrease the level of anger or disappointment, one of the very quick changes that you can make, if you drop your expectation level. So if you have less expectation, you will not get disappointed as easy. So in order to become happier, the one quick fix is have less expectation. Try that. And the expectation that I mean in everybody, in your friends, family, drivers, co-workers, I don't know, boss.
How do you deal with, say, other people having a higher expectation of say, you? And like it's almost like an unrealistic expectation that you can't possibly meet.
Of course, you can have now you got me on the spot, that is their issue. It's not a you issue.
I guess that falls in don't, like when people say not to be a people pleaser or something. You have to try and
I normally discourage people from don't please anybody. You just do the job right. That is all you need to do.
Yeah.
You want to do the right thing to the best of knowledge that you have. Not people pleasing. That's not how it works, because it just doesn't work. Different people, they have different expectations. So it's a good idea to set the expectations right, from the get-go. Especially we talked about this in a few episodes before, that when it comes to a business, you want to set the expectations.
Right.
Because it's a transaction that is happening.
Right.
When it comes to friends, sometimes we have expectations that we have never voiced out, which the other party doesn't know.
Right.
And then that becomes another big issue in our frustration, that we find people, we say people are this, people are mad, people don't have common sense, and we generalize it very frequently.
Right.
Then, so we want to just, as I said, that level of expectation, if it goes down, and sometimes if you are not voicing it out, then we should not have the expectation.
Right. Like don't live in the land of covert contracts, essentially, right? Yeah. Like these things that we're holding someone to a standard that they don't even know.
That is correct. Yeah,
that's hard. And I find that I do that myself.
And if you really you have that, maybe you should just voice it out. Tell them, just to clarify the expectation and the roles that each party plays. Mm-hmm. That the clarity is a very important thing. I read this somewhere as a business thing, that in order to be successful, competence is 10%, confidence is 10%, clarity is 80%. Of course, now it is just they come up with numbers, but not somebody comes out, oh, no, it was 9.5%. You just got that one. The other one was 11.5.
Right. Okay.
But as a general rule, basically, one said that the clarification is one of the most important part in any relationship, that the expectation. And sometimes, in all honesty, we don't know. When, for example, in ourselves that we do this podcasting, some of it we don't know that how much of expectation we should have of each other.
Right.
Then some of that will become a flexibility that, we just, an oopsie happens. It's okay. You should be okay with that.
Yeah.
And then, but as much as possible, we clarify the roles that we play, the expectations that we have. And for the rest of it, you should have this, bumper that basically we can take the hit and be okay with it. But now I'm going back into main subject that, the things that we normally makes us, as a general, I have asked this question from quite a few people, that they makes us unhappy. Often is, again, anger, getting angry or disappointed with others. Sometimes disappointed by yourself, which is the self-forgiveness. That one, I have a very good story. I will bring it up, screw up that I made. And to be honest, at the time, I felt horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, thanks to two friends, they made me feel even more horrible. But at the same time, it turned out to become a very good experience. I will talk about that self-forgiveness. I would encourage everybody to listen to that. And I'm sure the people would be divided in the way that they look at it, but I think it became a very, very good, subject to talk about. But another thing is that, for example, people that when we worry about this stuff, that is something that brings, our level of happiness down.
Right. And there's a difference between worrying and planning.
Correct.
I'll sit there and I'll plan things out. What I'm doing, I'm planning what's going to happen next, my steps to do what I'm going to do next, so I can mentally prepare. And sometimes I call that worrying. Or people say, you worry too much for everything. But I'm just planning.
Very good. And you're getting your words right. They get it wrong.
but I'm planning, but in that planning, sometimes I get on planning for, well, what if this, what if that, and then I got 3 or 4 plans going just in case, say, step 1 goes crazy. Then
plan A goes wrong. Then go to plan B.
1A, 1AB, and then they get all mixed up together.
As a general rule, I know that they say perfection. I prefer to deal with somebody who is more of a perfectionist than not.
Okay.
So, and the level of perfectionism that we are talking about, that for different people is different level.
Right.
They call it, for example, if you're a pilot, I prefer if you're a freaking perfectionist. That you do not want to make any mistakes. But anyway, as a general rule, that's a different thing, and people, they have different standards. But I prefer to be more of a perfectionist and deal with somebody of that level. And no, that is planning, is not worrying. Worrying normally is the things that, if this happened, it's a bit different. It's a bit different. And if you start
thinking about things that you can't do anything about.
And this is exactly.
Is that more worrying?
Yeah.
Is that we're going to... Yes.
Worrying is often about the things that you have no control on.
Right.
And if you don't have control on it, why do you worry about it?
Right.
And if you have control on it, then do something about it.
Right.
And I know it is easier said than done. But again, when we practice it, trust me, it happens. I have done it personally before, that you worry about something and then you start thinking, if you use the same process that I said, can I do something about it? I'm going to do. If not, then I'm going to think about it. Why should I worry? And often they say, I've heard that they say 97% of the things that you worry about, they never happen.
Right, because you're just telling stories in your head.
Yes. And the other 3% that they happen, they can't do. And you can't do anything about it anyways. So it's going to happen.
You're taking my power away.
Yeah. And if really we go back and think about it, the things, it's a very good idea just to think back, the things that we have worried in the past. Was there any point to worry about it? Sometimes.
Usually not.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd have to think longer and harder.
Yeah, this
then
because I have done, for example, I'm a parent. And when my child was obviously younger, he's older. I'm not.
Yes.
But for example, I would worry quite a bit about that. But they were the things that a lot of time they were out of my control, and I didn't know. Maybe I should throw this very quickly. A friend of mine, he's an orthopedic surgeon, and one day he said that he's worried about his child who is 6 years old. That's why he said that he's on the computer or these gadgets, and spending too much time. I'm worried about his future. Okay. Then I told him, said, where you were his age, was your dad worried about you? He thought it for a moment. He said, yeah. He said, I watch too much TV.
Yeah.
I said, what happened to you now? You're a productive member of the society. So what makes you think he is not? And I'm not saying spending too much time on the gadgets is good, but sometimes we go too far,
Right.
And if there is something you can do about it, do that. And if you can't, then just don't worry about it. So when it comes to that, for example, again, the things that it's a good idea to start thinking what makes you unhappy in life. First, address those things. Then afterwards, think about the things that they make you happy. And as a general rule, I'm going to just list things very quickly, but really this is not a 20-minute conversation that we can have in here. But I'm just touching bases to establish a base, but then over the podcast that we are a few episodes that we are going to be talking, I'm going to address one by one, that we go a little bit deeper in those things. But for example, other elements of happiness, normally they say that a level of $80,000 household income per year is sufficient for financial part of it. Of course, once I said this, a buddy of mine said that, but with 80,000, I can't even pay for my car. I said, dumbass, you're driving a most expensive vehicle. He was driving a Mercedes-Benz. Yes, that's not for that. When they say 80,000, they mean that, for example, you go buy a second-hand car for $10,000, $15,000 cash.
You're talking about gross income, though, right?
Correct.
Like before taxes and all that, right?
That's correct.
In Canada.
That's correct.
Okay, so somewhere else like that, so that's really different. Like if you're talking about net income,
that's correct.
Right?
80,000
so it's actually a lot lower. Like
that's correct.
Like real money that you have to use is actually a
correct.
lot lower.
And again, it is just a general number, depends on household. When we are saying household, how big of a household it is too.
Right.
But the whole is just the gist of it, that around that much. And the first 80,000 decreases the stress. Above that, doesn't do much. So if you're wishing, again, think about it as this, a chain is as strong as its weakest link.
Right.
If that is your problem, again, for that 80,000, first decrease your expenses. See and then think about how you can increase your income. And by increasing, and if you reach to 80,000, 90,000, something like that number, now by making 200,000, you will not become happier. Just to be clear, that is where I'm going with these things. Just to have a general understanding that put your effort somewhere that serves you a service, serves you a purpose. And that, for example, first again, remove your anger, the things that the thing that makes you unhappy in general, which is the anger, disappointment, and those kind of things. Then the other elements that they say for one of the biggest elements for happiness is a sense of community and connection. So if you have more friends, and friends, when I say, would be somebody that you can pick up the phone and call them or shoot them a text, obviously, and not to worry too much about the words that you choose. Right. And just be comfortable being yourself.
It's more about, I'm on the introvert spectrum, I would think, right? So, I think of it more of having like quality friends, right? The quantity of friends doesn't matter. It's more the quality of friends you have and the conversations that you can get away with having with them, right?
But
you can talk about your problems and their problems and
with no judgment and trying to be helping each other.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it sounds so dire, like I'm talking about problems all the time. Well, we're not, just talk about just life things in general and
basically
having no real judgment on each other, except, sometimes you have to say something, but, or hopefully someone can say something to you when you're off base.
And again, you're just comfortable. You're sitting there as if you're talking to your mom.
Sure.
Something in that line. That, you feel comfortable. You don't have to really walk on eggshell. Just think about, what word I should use. Maybe I hurt their feeling. And sometimes it is us, because I have seen some people that it is them. Just be comfortable. It's not me. It's you. It's a you problem at times.
Yeah, right.
Some people, they are not just comfortable themselves. So just that is the sense of community.
Right.
Another element that they say for happiness is very important is sunlight. So it's a very easy thing. So if there is a sunlight, as long as it doesn't hit you right in the eye or it's not too bright to bother you, don't put shades on. Sometimes people, they put shades on just to look cool.
Yeah.
But studies, to best of my knowledge, and personally I have experienced that if I have shades on, I don't get the good effect of the sun.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I really, when there is a sunlight, I prefer that brightness. And because of that, I leave the windows open. The blinds open.
Yeah.
And I don't pull the curtains down. No, I leave it open. And I recommend that too, that if, for example, even if you have to do something that you have to, anyway, just as soon as you see that there is a daylight, just take advantage of it. So these small things, they make a difference. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have one, then get happy lights. It does make a difference. At least that has been my...
Happy lights?
Yeah.
Or do you mean daytime lights? Like the...
No, it's called happy light.
What?
Yeah, yeah. It is called happy light. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Google it. Yeah,
I'm not gonna, but okay.
it does work. Trust me. It is a kind of a light that it does help.
Huh.
It does help. That. But again, as I said, if you can, as soon as it's a daylight, try to be out there as much as possible and leave the things that should be inside indoor for the time that the daylight is not there.
Right.
Just a bit of a planning. It does make a difference if you add them up. Just one thing to the other. Another thing that, for example, when it comes to food, they say that, of course, generally healthy eating and those things they help. But I've heard that fish oil and vitamin D, for example, helps. And another very big important is for happiness is just exercise. And
Right.
for example, personally, I run, and you really get a runner's high.
Mm-hmm.
But now to give 2 quick tips that normally. Again, in order to to decrease the level of unhappiness and the things that may make you not feel good, one quick fix is decrease your expectation. Don't expect too much from your friends, family, colleagues, drivers, co-workers, and anybody.
And yourself.
I
think that's probably most important, because that's what we spent the longest time talking about.
That is true. Yeah, sometimes we expect too much of ourselves. Of course, you want to keep higher standards as a general rule, but no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, just
strive for perfection, I guess, but keep it reasonable.
Yeah,
and
if you screw up, it's okay. We all do.
Right.
We all do, and then some are less though. Some are pretty good at screwing up things, but so that would be the expectation. And another thing that very quickly can increase your level of happiness is being grateful. And grateful, I mean, really think about the things that you have and focus on what you have versus what you don't have.
Right.
And to be honest, one thing that I say personally, I have had this, I don't know why, but although I have been out of Iran for most of my life, 28, 29 years, to this date, I was 25 when I left Iran. For most of my life, I have been out of Iran. But to this date, actually, when I drive, I think that, oh my God, it's so peaceful. Mm-hmm. When I go out, I deal with people, it's just so peaceful. I don't have to worry. Oh, if I get sick, because we are in Canada, we have this free healthcare. You know what? I'm taken care of.
Oh, it's not free, friend.
I pay taxes, I know.
Yes.
It's not that. But, it takes those worries. There is insurance. For example, I pay for the insurance, but that insurance for my car, for my house, for anything else that you do, it provides you that peace. And the peacefulness is the important part.
Right.
So, but anyway, to be grateful, that is something that I think that I have seen it more frequently that we miss, that we have forgotten, and we think about the things that we don't have.
Right.
And we are not grateful for the things that we have. And sometimes it's better to compare. Life is a comparison, by the way. Compare our lives versus people that are living in some other, third world countries that they don't have that. And because I come from that background, of course, Iran again during Shahstan was very good. After revolution, it went down. But because I experienced that, yet to this date, I think my level of appreciation is, I wouldn't be too surprised to say, is way higher than people that they were born in here. And it really makes me feel good. And that has caused one of the things that I'm very happy about. But one quick thing, again, for a question and challenge for the audience is this. I think Sean Acker is a researcher in happiness, and he has said this. He said that if you can, again, do me and yourself a favor, for 21 days, consequent days, every day write something that you're appreciative of, and you cannot repeat it.
You can't repeat it?
You can't repeat the same thing. If you said that,
Okay.
And find something that you appreciate. The whole idea is when you do that, you train your brain to look at the positive. That's all it is.
Okay.
So if you do that for 3 weeks, then it becomes easier to find the goodness. Once I said that to one of my staff that she was not the happiest person, and then I said, I'm going to pay you. I said, honestly, I'm going to pay you $100 if you do that. And she wrote that for a few days, and she couldn't find something. After maybe 6, 7, 8 days, she had such a challenge to come up with something. Then I said, I'm not going to say the name. I said, you could have said, it is sunny. Then she said, are you kidding me? Are you saying that happiness? I said, where do you think happiness comes from? The simplest thing. You could have said, oh, I can drive here as a woman, be safe, and I'm in a freaking free country. That's what you could have said.
Yeah.
But you haven't experienced this, the alternative. You could have said, you know what? It's a peaceful place, to be honest. If I'm not happy, if I say something, I'm not too worried about, people being rude. Often people are much better. And if some people, they think that people in here are rude, think twice. You should be in some other places. So again, it's just an expectation. And she couldn't see that. I said, this goes on and on. Yes, when I'm saying that happiness, I'm talking these simple things.
Right.
When you can lay down and just feel comfortable that, if I get sick, I'm taken care of. If I'm feeling bad, for example, I have good friends to support me. So anyway, these are the things that can be done. Very simple things. And if you're thinking about something very, expensive and those kind of things that are more complicated, you're not on the right track.
Well, then you're getting into pleasure land.
Yes.
So
here we go.
This is, what's the date today?
Oh my God. I don't know. 17, 18.
Okay.
February.
We'll just say 19.
It's February 18, 2022. But when you're listening to this, please just go ahead and do this. Again, every day, write one thing that you're grateful for and email it to, actually you can email it to us. I really would love to see that, and that, and hold yourself responsible that you have to do it for 21 days.
So in 21 days, we're going to come back here and you're going to give me $100 if I do this.
Well, that's not what I said.
Oh, I thought that applied for everybody.
I wish.
This is now I'm disappointed. This is bullshit.
But another very last thing that I wanted to say, they say if you're not feeling good, go help somebody. That is another thing that you can use as a treat.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to treat yourself, maybe you want to go help somebody. And then I say that sometimes you cannot go, oh, who needs help? You can do that. But another thing, just to be perceptive that in case you see that somebody needs help, help them. Not to think that, oh, go do this on your own. We will get there because, for example, that
sometimes you have to tell people to do things on their own.
Correct.
I'm
That's another topic.
I'm not saying we shouldn't help people or I don't like helping people, but
for example,
people all the time. But there's a line that has to be drawn where it's like, no, you have to do that for yourself. Otherwise, it's just gonna be codependency. Aha! Look at that word.
As a matter of fact, as you know, I did never buy a compressor. I have for my blowing out the lines, and I asked you to come and help me with that.
Yeah,
you remember that?
That's fine.
Yeah,
but you should buy a compressor at some point.
No, we will get there. Maybe that will be another episode. It's becoming a bit longer than I thought.
Okay,
but again, I hope that everybody has enjoyed this. And again, remember you can reach us by email. That's one of the best way. info@alpha. Oh my God, that's the business. info@lifeworkshop.ca. And if you have any topics that you would like us to talk about, let me know. And if you have something of value, I will be more than happy to discuss that. And again, please remember, life is simple. We make it complicated. Love you guys all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.